Is Invincible just a great superhero show? Or is it quietly becoming the most complete superhero story we have right now? Because after finishing season 4, I don't think the show can get any better. And what this show has done that is kind of crazy is it's making us agree with decisions in season 4 that we wouldn't have agreed with in season 1. And by the finale, you might realize you're a completely different viewer than from when you first started watching the show to where you are at right now. Now you guys, season 4 of Invincible just wrapped, and I believe the last 4 episodes are getting most of the attention. But what makes those last 4 episodes hit is the groundwork that the first 4 put in to really set things up. The season isn't just about actions or stakes, but it's about perspectives changing, and that is shown all throughout this season. The way the show is slowly breaking down Mark, it is also doing that to us, the viewer. Now I want to touch on how this season first starts off with episode 1, how it has Mark saving people in complete silence. That's not just a tone choice, that's identity loss. We've seen Mark change from this quippy superhero that loves the day-to-day of saving people to now just getting the job done in complete silence. He's unsure of himself. He's being viewed differently by the people he saved because of what happened in the last season with his variants. And most importantly, he questions his own judgment. And while other people are looking at him differently, he's looking at himself differently as well. And this is where the parallel between him and Omni-Man become much more dangerous than symbolic. Because now the question isn't, am I like Dad? It's, am I becoming him without realizing it? And when Mark chooses to take a life to save countless at the end of episode 1, it's framed as shocking, but it's not framed as the wrong decision. Now jumping to episode 2, I'm a big fan of how they've integrated these episodes and made them a lot more interesting. It could be because the stakes are rising and they have more content to make it more interesting. Or it could be the writers learned from the previous seasons and those filler episodes in the first 3 just weren't hitting, and so they decided to make them more engaging. And the team up between Nolan and Allen, I mean, they hint at it in the previous season. That's on purpose, because if anyone can bring Nolan back and show him the optimism in the world, it's Allen. Someone who lost everything is willing to work with his enemy because he knows that at the end of the day, people can change. And that makes Nolan believe that he can change, and he actively tries to change throughout this season. Now, although he's trying to change, he never truly admits that he was in the wrong. He softens it and reframes it, but even in a lot of his choices, they're very selfish during the front end of this season. It's all self-serving, saying it's him trying to mend the relationships that he broke, but really it's him hoping that people aren't better off without him. Which this also kind of mirrors the emotional battle Mark is going through, but in reverse, because Mark believes that people would do a whole lot better without him being there. Now episode 3 has a lot going on, and it has a lot of returning characters and enemies from previous seasons. This is a prime example of Mark being stretched too thin and him having to rely on the people in his lives to help get the job done. You have Titan needing Mark's help yet again. You have the time dilation aliens returning, and you have Eve's personal battle and her struggle with her powers that's happening behind the scenes. And the repetitive theme that we're seeing is that Mark isn't able to finish any of these jobs. He pushes them off and he prevents them from happening right away, but at the end of the day, they always end up coming back. And not only does he not have the time to finish the job, he also doesn't have the time to deal with things mentally and emotionally. And this kind of sets up the emotional impact that we see in the later episodes, which we're going to dive more into that, but it's one of my favorite setups this whole season. Now, episode 4 was probably my least favorite and a lot of people's. It was very much a filler episode. Now, if you guys don't know, this episode was supposed to be in last season, and after fans found out that it got removed, they wanted to see it, so I believe that's why they incorporated it in season 4. And again, it just has Mark kind of dealing with, the repercussions of all of his actions and the emotional imbalance he's feeling. But it is good to see Damien Darkblood. I'm glad they kind of incorporated him back into the real world at the end of this episode. All right, and now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this season, episodes 5 through 8. And this is when us as a viewer kind of start to change our mindset and view things less as right and wrong, but more as a necessity. Because now these choices that are being made, they're not so clear if it was right or wrong. It's left up in the air if that decision was the right decision. And as us as viewers, we kind of stop questioning Mark and just agree with all the decisions he's making. And historically in this universe, that leads to one thing, and that's Viltrumite thinking. Now obviously we then have the defeat of Conquest finally, which I have to say, One of my favorite cutaways happens at the end of this episode. You know, we do the zoom in on the Conquest's grave, thinking that he's going to emerge, and it just cuts back. And I got to say, fantastic writing and such good comedic timing. But I really liked this episode because it shows Nolan kind of actively trying to be a father toward Oliver and mend the things that he said that Oliver overheard. And Oliver doesn't put up with it at first, and it does take time for them to mend that relationship. And all this going on, you know, Mark is healing and the resistance is, you know, going full force on the Viltrumites. And it's a good back and forth, and it's kind of cool. They showed a map, kind of looked like the Helldivers map, but I don't know. That might have just been me. But all of that leads to the Viltrumites attacking their home base. And this just makes it clear that the Viltrumites have to go at any cost, which leads to them going to Viltrum and attacking the Viltrumites at their own home. Now, in full honesty, in every other season, this would have been the finale. The action, the setup, the dialogue, the new lore established. We've had such good lore drops, especially in episode 2, on kind of the Viltrumites and what they went through. And now seeing that world and how it is now after the fact, it's crazy. We also have the setup and buildup of Thrag, who in previous episodes, they mentioned a little bit his power, but not to the extent of what we see. The scene that kind of exposed how powerful he truly is when Conquest bent the knee to Thrag, where he hesitated and thought of actually fighting Thrag, but then backed off because he knew he would have got whooped. And seeing how Thrag can just take down anyone just like that was absolutely terrifying. And in my head, I didn't think there was any possible way that Mark and Nolan and the whole team made it out alive. And then it comes back to the choice of them destroying Viltrum and taking the last thing that the Viltrumites have away. And some might argue, was this a mistake? Because the repercussions of this choice, I feel like, outweigh anything that the Viltrumites were going to do beforehand. And just the final scene of just pure, utter shock on Mark's face, that he realizes that they have gone to Earth. Great way to end this episode. And now we come to the finale, which kind of felt like the back end of most finales, where they would have the big fight and then the resolve. We have a whole episode of that. You think it's going to lead into this epic battle, and it shows clips of it, and it shows the Viltrumites attacking Earth, but it's all an illusion in Mark's head. He, again, hasn't been able to deal with everything he's gone through, that he's got PTSD. He is imagining the worst things, and the crazy part is they're not super unrealistic. All the things that Mark sees and experiences in those brief moments could actually happen. And as a viewer, I didn't know if it was real or not. And there was times where I thought we were losing some main players. And I think that's the point. The writers of the show wanted you to feel how Mark felt, the anxiety of not knowing when they would attack, which made the final moments of the episode where Mark is flying around and he sees Thrag and he tries to shake it off and say this is just an episode, to him actually being there. And it all comes down to a choice. Thrag says the Viltrumites are going to live on Earth and repopulate the race, but be active members of community and not attack the world. Or on the flip side, if Mark or anyone tries to hunt them down, he will destroy the world along with everyone on it. And you see that moral battle of Season 1 Mark and Season 4 Mark. He wants to say no. He wants to fight Thrag, and he wants to beat him, but he knows he can't. And he knows he has more to lose than to gain. And it literally comes to his last breath of his decision as he sees Eve and all that Eve has gone through and had to go through because he wasn't there. He was risking his life. Mark doesn't want to do that again. So he makes the choice, a choice that we don't know is right or wrong, but he made it. And some might say that decision lines up exactly with Omni-Man's decision. And he's kind of come full circle. And although he wasn't malicious with his intent, the result ended up the same. Viltrumites now own Earth. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. So what was it all for? The fighting, the death, everything. For them to just end up being there no matter what. But then again, us as a viewer, and I surely did, I agreed with the decision. And that's how far we've come in just these 4 seasons. So I gotta ask you guys, Do you agree with Mark's decision? Or do you think this is just going to lead to more fatalities? And that question alone just shows why Invincible is on another level. Now, if you guys enjoyed my analysis of Season 4 Invincible, make sure to like and subscribe and turn notifications on so you don't miss out on a single release. And again, let me know in the comments below on what you thought overall on this season. What was your favorite episode? I want to hear all about it. But that is going to be it for me today, you guys. My name is Ben James, and thank you all for watching. Peace.